Hello, this is Raymond the Metaman asking the question, who will own the metaverse? Well, the first answer is Facebook, because Mark Zuckerberg, with 2.8 billion users or customers, has already made the first step in late October 2021. And he not only decided to go into the metaverse big time, he decided to rename his company Meta. And why? The reason is financial. You see, when you are on Facebook and you say, gee, I like Chinese food, or gee, I like skiing, or I might go to Portugal on vacation, those little innocent posts are not innocent at all. They are very, very valuable to Facebook because a travel agency might have a special on flights from America to Portugal, and they put in a search on Facebook in order to find those people in America who might be interested in going to Portugal, and your name pops up. And suddenly, when you go to Facebook, you see an ad for cheap flights to Portugal. You say, oh my gosh, how did they know? What a miracle, what a coincidence. And so most people know that. But why is the metaverse so valuable? Why is it so different? Why is it so intense? And here's the reason. Let's say you're a 60-year-old woman and you're nearing retirement and you like bowling. And so that's what you talk about. You talk about your job and bowling and your retirement. But in the metaverse, you can choose any avatar you want. And maybe you always wanted to be a swimmer. But when you were young, you asked your mommy for swimming lessons, and there just wasn't enough money, so you never did it. And even to today, you can't swim. But when you go into the metaverse and you choose an avatar, you might choose a beautiful young 22-year-old woman wearing a really beautiful bikini, long blonde hair, and a really wonderful swimmer. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to meet other men or women in the metaverse who are also swimmers, and maybe you'll join classes and your avatar will actually pay for classes in the metaverse, and your avatar will become a better swimmer, and your avatar will go to conventions, and your avatar will go to swim competitions. And yes, your avatar will buy NFP bathing suits. Yes, all this sounds a bit strange. I don't mean a real bathing suit that gets mailed to you or couriered to you. I mean that your avatar will buy a virtual bathing suit in the metaverse and have it shipped to her door in the metaverse and put it on her body in the metaverse. Yes, it's very strange. But notice that in the current Facebook, or the Facebook before October 2021, Mark Zuckerberg or Facebook or Meta would never find out about your deep desire to wish you could have been a swimmer. But when you can choose any avatar you want, then your deep, deep feelings come out. And then Mark Zuckerberg or Meta or Facebook knows so much more about you, and not only can sell you NFT virtual items inside the metaverse, but they can actually sell you things in the physical universe. So for example, the next time you go to Facebook, you might see an advertisement for a beautiful painting of a swimmer. And you might say, oh my gosh, what a really nice painting. I think I'll purchase it. And maybe it's several $1,000s. And it's in the physical universe. It's a real painting, not an NFT. And it actually gets shipped to you, to your home, and you actually hang a nail in the wall, and you actually hang the painting on that nail. And so not only can Mark Zuckerberg sell you virtual things in his metaverse, but he can also sell you physical things in the physical universe. Wow. So that's why he's doing it. And he may make a great deal of money at it. And I suspect he will, because he's got first mover advantage and 2.8 billion people who are excited about Facebook and use it every day. Now, not to be left behind, Microsoft has already been doing an enormous amount of work, and they have a thing called Microsoft Teams. Just like they have Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word, they have a thing called Microsoft Teams where people can actually get together and meet. And they're using Microsoft Teams. They're enhancing Microsoft Teams. They're putting virtual reality and augmented reality into Microsoft Teams to allow people to have exciting experiences in the business world using the metaverse. And so if you have 10 vice presidents scattered around the world and you're the CEO, you could call a meeting, but it won't be a Zoom meeting where there's just little tiny pictures of each person and sitting on a matrix that looks like a chessboard. No, you'll actually be sitting around a table. I know it's a bit hard to understand or believe, but the 10 people, the 10 vice presidents from around the world speaking different languages will all be able to sit at the same virtual table in the same metaverse room inside their current program called Microsoft Teams and have a conversation. And no matter what language the original person is speaking, you'll be hearing it translated in the language that you understand. And you'll be sitting around the table and you'll actually be looking at a lifelike representation of that person or an avatar of that person. Maybe the person will dress up as Superman. Maybe they'll have an avatar of an extremely well-dressed young 30-year-old man, even though they're 60 years old. They can do what they like. It's a fascinating experience. And so you might say, but 2.8 billion people, that's a big advantage that Facebook has over Microsoft. But I want you to remember, and I don't know the answer, but there's probably billions of people who use Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel and Internet Explorer. And so there's a huge user base that Microsoft has as well. So I think those two are going to battle it out. But how about Amazon? You might say, Amazon? Amazon ships things around the world. What do they got to do with it? Well, what does space travel have to do with shipping boxes around the world? And yet, Jeff Bezos went into space. He went into exploring space. He went into creating rocket ships that carried people into space. And so he pushes the borders and he does exciting things. If he's going into outer space, why wouldn't he go into inner space or virtual space? I think that he will. By the way, if you're really interested in all this discussion, then you might want to go right there in order to hear about my favorite coin in the whole metaverse. Just go there, you might like it. Otherwise, just stay here. And also, if you're here and you're liking it, hit that subscribe button because that gives Google and YouTube the incentive to tell many people about my channel. So please help me. So let's continue. I've talked about Microsoft and Facebook, who are already deeply in the metaverse. And I've already talked about Amazon, which it pushes the borders, and so they could easily get into it. The next one is Google. Google has made no indication whatsoever that they have any interest in it, but Google and Facebook are the two biggest advertisers on the internet. So when online marketers want to buy ads, they typically buy ads on Facebook or Google. And Facebook has just made a gigantic new move. Google can't be seen as an also-ran. Google can't be seen as being left behind. And so my guess is that pretty soon, Google's going to make a big announcement. And now we have Apple. And I want you to remember something. Before Apple got into the iPhone business, there were two gigantic manufacturers that were producing just about 100% of all the cell phones in the world. One was Nokia, and the other was BlackBerry. BlackBerry was so addictive, it had its own heroin-esque nickname, Crackberry, because people just loved their BlackBerry so much. People were thumbing and thumbing and thumbing because they actually had raised characters, so you could actually feel them and thumb without looking at it. 10 years. Apple waited 10 years and then smashed all the competition with the iPhone. And so my guess is they're going to do the same thing. They're going to look around. They're going to wait and see. They're going to let Facebook make errors. They're going to let Facebook and Microsoft experiment and try this and try that and see which works and see which they can improve on. I think they're going to wait and see. And I think they're going to make an announcement a long time from now, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. And when they do, it's going to be an Apple metaverse that'll blow you away. So I think the first players are going to be Microsoft and Facebook, and they're going to dominate, at least they're going to dominate people's thinking. Google will probably do something, and Amazon might do something, but when Apple comes along, they're going to make a big splash, albeit later. Now, those are called centralized metaverses because each one is going to be owned by its own master. So Facebook will have its own metaverse, and Google will have some kind of its own metaverse, and Microsoft will have its own metaverse, and it'll own it and it'll keep all the money that it makes. But there's a decentralized metaverse, which is created by all the coins in the metaverse. When I started this channel, November 1st of 2021, and now it's December 8th, and so it's only 5 weeks ago, there were 41 coins in the metaverse. And now there's 65 coins, 41 up to 65. That's a 50% increase in just over 1 month, 50% increase. So there were, for a long time, there were coins like Axie Infinity, the Sandbox, Decentraland, which is mana, Render, which is a powerful component and player in the metaverse. But then there's lots of little coins coming out. And so there's going to be a battle between the centralized metaverses like Facebook and maybe Apple in the future and Microsoft, but there's always going to be a battle between the centralized ones and the decentralized ones. And so that's my prediction. That's my prediction, that big companies will form a metaverse like Facebook and Microsoft, but there'll be decentralized ones like the crypto coins. It's going to be very exciting. The next several years is going to be fascinating for the metaverse, and the people who invest now will either see their investment drop to zero if they choose the wrong coin, or they'll see their investment go to the moon and make a fortune. And so if you want to invest in the metaverse, by the way, you can't buy one coin. That's just gambling. Buy a selection, 5, 10, 20 coins, and spread your money amongst those. That's the safest way to do it. Some of them will drop to zero. Some of them will go up 2x. Some of them will go up 100x or 1,000x. Watch it. The metaverse is going to be a fun game. Who will own the metaverse? Stay tuned. And while you're staying tuned, hit that subscribe button right now. Subscribe. I mean it. Hello, and thank you for listening to that exciting video. Now, click on Meta in order to subscribe so that other people will enjoy it too. And click right here to enjoy my previous video, and click right there to enjoy the video about Sand, my favorite crypto metaverse coin.